ever catch yourself, like daydreaming, about what life would be like if you had just a little more financial freedom? That beach house, finally retiring early, or maybe just splurging on that vintage record player you've had your eye on. We all have those dreams, right? But what if it's like our own minds that are actually holding us back from achieving them? Well, that's what we're diving into today. Don't worry, no get-rich-quick schemes here. We're going deep into Harv Eker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. We're going to unpack his ideas about how the way we think about money, those beliefs we often form way back in childhood, can actually end up shaping our financial realities years later. Eker kicks things off with this idea he calls the money blueprint. Think of it kind of like the operating system that's running in the background of your financial life. If you don't even realize it's there, but it's influencing how you earn money, how you spend it, even just how you think about money in general. It's pretty powerful stuff.
What's so fascinating is that this blueprint, it often operates on a subconscious level, so we're not always aware of these deep-seated beliefs that are actually dictating our financial decisions.
Exactly. It's like that saying, you don't know what you don't know. So how do we even begin to, uncover this hidden blueprint?
Eker argues one of the best ways to see it is to look at your results, like your current financial situation. He's got this really powerful line in the book that says, your income can grow only to the extent you do. It's kind of a wake-up call, don't you think? It makes you stop and consider, does my income actually reflect my full potential, or are there some internal barriers holding me back?
It's almost like there's this invisible ceiling we bump up against, right? But how can our thoughts really have that much power? I mean, we're talking about something as tangible as money here.
Okay, so Eker uses this brilliant analogy to explain it. The thermostat. Think about how a thermostat works. It regulates the temperature in a room, right? It's set to a specific point, and it works to maintain that temperature no matter what. Your money blueprint, according to Eker, operates in a similar way. It sets a comfort zone for how much wealth we believe we can create and handle.
Okay, so let's say, hypothetically, someone wins the lottery. Suddenly, they're way outside their financial comfort zone. What happens?
That's where it gets really interesting. Eker says that a lot of lottery winners, even with all that sudden wealth, end up right back where they started.
Wait, really? Why? They got money in the bank.
See, that's the thing about the money blueprint. It runs deeper than just what you've got in your bank account. Eker thinks it's because their internal thermostat, their capacity to handle that much wealth, it hasn't actually changed. They might not have the beliefs or the financial know-how to maintain that much wealth, so they end up back where they started. It's almost like their system gets overloaded, and then they subconsciously sabotage themselves to get back to their financial norm.
Wow. So it's like they win the lottery, but they don't actually win the mindset to go with it.
Exactly. Now, let's compare that with self-made millionaires. They might experience setbacks, maybe even big financial losses, but they often rebuild. Why? Because their mindset, their blueprint, is wired for success. Even if their bank account takes a hit, their belief in their ability to generate wealth, it stays strong.
Eker uses Donald Trump as an example of this, right?
Yeah, he does. Even after losing billions, Trump bounced back. Eker says it's because of his billionaire mind. He's suggesting that Trump wouldn't feel successful if he had anything less than that. It's a really interesting example of how our internal blueprint can shape our relationship with wealth.
Okay, so we've been talking about lottery winners and Donald Trump. But what about the rest of us? What about everyone listening right now? Where do we fit into this whole money blueprint idea?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And, Eker doesn't really sugarcoat it. He says that most people, they aren't living up to their full financial potential, and it's because of these limiting beliefs that they're carrying around.
Yeah, he throws out this really startling statistic in the book. He says that, and I'm quoting here, 80% of individuals will never be financially free in the way they'd like to be, and 80% will never claim to be truly happy.
It's kind of grim when you think about it like that, but it really underscores how common these limiting beliefs actually are. We kind of walk around with these invisible scripts playing in our heads, and we're often totally oblivious to the impact they're having, not just on our finances, but even on our overall happiness.
So how do we even begin to identify these limiting beliefs? I mean, you say they're invisible scripts, so where do we start?
Well, Eker uses this really powerful analogy in the book, the tree. Picture a tree in your mind for a second.
Got it.
So the fruits on that tree, those represent our results in life, right? And that includes our financial situation.
Okay, yeah, I can see where you're going with this. We're all striving for those, juicy, ripe fruits of financial success.
Exactly. But here's the thing. We often get so fixated on the fruits, those visible results, that we totally forget about what's going on beneath the surface. We forget about the roots.
Ah, I see it now. The roots represent.
Exactly. The roots, those are our thoughts, our beliefs, our conditioning, basically. That money blueprint we've been talking about. And just like with a real tree, if you want different fruit, you got to tend to those roots.
It's like you could be working so hard chasing those fruits, but if your roots are all tangled up in these limiting beliefs about money, you're never going to get the harvest you're hoping for.
You hit the nail on the head. So let's say someone's constantly struggling financially. It might not be because they're not working hard enough or because they don't have the right opportunities. It could simply be that their underlying beliefs about money are sabotaging their efforts without them even realizing it.
It's like we're unconsciously living out these self-fulfilling prophecies based on these early beliefs we've internalized.
100%. And the good news is, just as we unconsciously picked up those beliefs, we can consciously decide to challenge them, to transform them.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? How do we uproot those deeply ingrained limiting beliefs and replace them with ones that are actually going to support us in creating more abundance?
It all starts with awareness. You have to shine a light on those deep-seated beliefs that might be holding you back. Eker suggests looking for patterns in your life.
What kind of patterns are we talking about here? Give me an example.
Sure. Do you constantly find yourself struggling to save money? Do you shy away from opportunities that could lead to, bigger financial success? Are you afraid to take risks, even calculated ones?
I mean, those sound pretty familiar.
Right, because it's really common. But these patterns can actually give you really important clues about what your underlying beliefs about money might be. And once you've identified those limiting beliefs, then you can start to challenge them, to reframe them.
Okay, but let's say someone realizes they have this really ingrained belief, something like money is the root of all evil. I mean, how do you even begin to shift something that feels that fundamental to who you are?
You're not going to erase that belief overnight. It's more about introducing new perspectives and finding evidence that challenges that old way of thinking.
So, for example, maybe someone with that belief could seek out stories of philanthropists, people who use their wealth to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. Or even just reflecting on the good that money allows them to do in their own lives. Like providing security or having opportunities for travel and education, or even just being able to enjoy a nice meal out without stressing about the bill.
So we've talked about a lot today, that whole idea of the money blueprint and how those invisible scripts can really help or hurt us when it comes to financial success. And then we got into how we can start to identify and challenge those limiting beliefs that might be holding us back. But where do we go from here?
That's what's so cool about all of this. Once you see these blueprints and limiting beliefs for what they are, you can start to actually rewrite the script. You're not just along for the ride anymore.
That's a really powerful way to think about it. Instead of just saying, well, this is just how it is about our money situation, we can actually get out there and create a new reality for ourselves, one that's more in line with what we want.
Exactly. And, Eker even talks about reprogramming our financial thermostats. It's about being intentional, choosing those beliefs and habits that support us having more abundance.
So how do we do that? How do we reprogram that thermostat?
Eker talks about a bunch of different techniques, but it usually starts with small steps, consistent actions. Like he suggests surrounding yourself with financial abundance.
Wait, so I need to go buy a lottery ticket? Is that what you're saying?
Not exactly. It's more about changing your mindset, changing what you're exposed to every day. So instead of always focusing on what you don't have, try focusing on what you do have and appreciate it. Make a habit of being grateful for the money that comes into your life, even if it doesn't feel like much. Read some books about money or listen to podcasts about building wealth, and surround yourself with people who have a good relationship with money, people who seem to have an abundance mindset.
So it's like you're creating an environment that supports you in having a more abundant mindset instead of waiting for abundance to just magically show up one day.
Yeah, that's it. It's all about getting your inner world and your outer world to match up.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. As we wrap up here, what would you say is the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
If our financial situation is really just a reflection of what's going on inside, what beliefs or thoughts do you need to change? What do you need to get rid of and replace to create a mindset that attracts more abundance? I really want everyone to sit with that question.
That's a powerful question, for sure. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, just remember, you've got more control over your money and your financial future than you might think. Become aware of your money blueprint, challenge those limiting beliefs you've been carrying around, and get intentional about creating a more abundant mindset. You can create a life that truly reflects what you want.